And welcome back, everybody, to the Podcaster Nation. That's right, I said welcome back because I know you were just listening to our stuff and you loved it so much that you wanted to come back for more. I really don't blame you. That's a brilliant move because we have more. We have a lot more for you. Folks, you're going to love this episode today. I've got a great podcaster with us. And he's with us today because this is the podcast that's about podcasters. It's for podcasters, and it's done by podcasters. This is the place where the rising tide raises all ships. So let's get sailing and bring in our guest today. Please welcome the host of the Weird Canadian, Cody Johnston. Cody, how you doing today?
Pretty good. Thank you for having me. How about yourself?
Not too bad. I appreciate you asking. Better than I deserve for sure. But yeah, it's great to have you on here. I really enjoyed the episode that I got to hear of your podcast. You have quite a bit of flavor up there and some awesome opinions, and you are not afraid to share them. And frankly, I love hearing that. Doesn't even matter if I agree with the opinion or not. I just love the fact that you're out there sharing the way you are, doing it
Thank
so
you.
so ferociously. It was really awesome to hear that. Tell everybody a little bit about who you are, what you do, what you're about, and what brings you here today, brother.
Sure. So I'm Cody Johnston, aka the Weird Canadian. Um, Basically, I started out wanting to do a podcast for my entire life. It only just started recently that I decided to jump into this avenue, and I've had massive success in the last 4 months that I started this. It's very interesting at how much I grew in such a short period of time. My background is in software development. I was working for the Ministry of Transportation in Ontario for about 8 years, where I learned about government and how the government doesn't work. Then I moved into a fintech company called FIS Global, where me and my partner ended up moving out to Newfoundland. Got to say that right because everybody keeps on pointing that out. Um, we moved out to Newfoundland about a year ago and just have never looked back. Um, and right now, what I'm doing is I'm hosting the Weird Canadian. It is a uh, podcast for entrepreneurs, Canadians, anybody who wants to take a stab in the Canadian landscape for building businesses, building anything that's better than what we have as far as I'm concerned. So I'm really trying to promote entrepreneurship, giving people resources and ideas to run with and trying to fight back a little bit about against what the government has put on our country so far in the past 10 years or so.
Interesting. And like I said, I listened to that episode and I got to hear quite a bit, about your standpoint. It sounds as though you're very small business friendly in your belief system in terms of what you're rooting for. Does that sound accurate?
Yeah, the one thing that I've noticed a lot, especially getting into the entrepreneurship space, is America takes chances on their people. So when it comes to entrepreneurship, people are willing to just invest the money and not worry about like returns. They're investing in the person, trying to build them up. With Canada, it's more like, hey, we want to make sure we're mitigating our risk. So instead of giving you money, we'll give you a loan. And it's like, well, that's great and all, but this idea might not go anywhere and I still have to pay that back. Um, so I'm starting to see a big difference in how the two countries operate and why there's so much more free trade in the US as opposed to Canada. Fun fact for you, the Canadian government, uh, 40% of the Canadian population is employed directly or indirectly with the Canadian government.
Wow. I didn't know that. No
Yeah,
kidding.
it, it's a massive stat, and that's a very big problem for our country because commerce doesn't happen with government.
Yeah. Wow. I really? I had no idea that's a giant number.
Between bureaucracy, people actually doing the work, consultants, emergency services, basically, it's the majority of our country.
I see. I see. Well, that kind of secures a little bit of a voting base then for whatever it is they're trying to do. People are like, hey, I
Yeah,
may disagree with this, but I can't afford to lose my job.
and that is one of the reasons I've been so vocal lately is because that should not be the reason you're voting. You should be
Wow.
voting for how to actually help and make our country better. Um,
Wow. All right. We're definitely going to talk more about the podcast. Tell me a little bit about, I mean, you were a software engineer, an AI expert, content creator. How does all that play into, what you do today?
So software has always been my go-to. I've been programming since I was about 16. I started with a duck hunt. I built duck hunt in VB, and just fell in love with it. Just building whatever I could with uh, the internet, really. I had a very hard time with a lot of other things, but I understood programming naturally. Like it was something that just came very easy to me. The logic made sense as opposed to everything else. Um, so that was my path. I wanted to be a programmer. I actually did a successful career in that with the ministry. And as part of that, I also got to work with the initial start of AI, uh, integrating it into our systems into the ministry. So I got a very good experience being able to build up from the very start when it first came out, I think GPT 3.5 or 3.0, implementing that and getting to play with it. Uh, so programming's always been my feat, like what I wanted to do and what I'm good at, but I've never been happy with it. If you know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like it's brought me success, but never the happiness that I thought would come with that success.
Yeah.
So I actually backed away. We had my dog died recently, and it just put me in perspective of what I really wanted in life. So my partner allowed me to take the opportunity to quit my job and start content creation. And now I'm using it with AI to become as successful as I am right now, which it, in 4 months, I'm surprised that I have about 20,000 followers total and about like 150,000 views. Um, I was not expecting that. But I feel natural in it. This is the biggest thing. I feel so natural talking to people, discussing things, having conversations, and getting that information out there that it feels I'm more successful now than I ever been in my entire career.
Interesting. I love that. And I love that awareness, that you've found. I hear that in podcasting probably more than any other field that I've ever been a part of. And I'm
Yeah.
like you. I've been a part of a lot of other things, but when you found podcasting, it was like just some light went on and something hit your heart, and you're like, "Wow, okay, this is different." I am sorry about your pet. That's
Oh,
rough, and
he was an old dog. We knew he was gonna go. It hit me hard. I didn't realize.
yeah. When that happened, you said that kind of made you step back and realize, was that a taking stock of your own life type of thing? I mean, if you don't mind me asking, what was the impact that
Yeah.
that had on you?
There was two folds of that impact. I was very stressed out. Like even so, we moved to Newfoundland to be able to de-stress, not have this polarizing views, to kind of have a more comfortable life. It's cheaper cost out here. We can afford more. Our dollar gets us further, and it's beautiful. Like we have $1 million view on our home, and it didn't cost us $1 million to get it. Um, but I was very stressed out, working all the time. Um, it always felt like I was not getting to where I wanted to be. And my partner really just took me aside and was like, "You have done all of this stuff. Like you've bought a house. You've actually purchased two houses. Um, you've saved these animals. You've succeeded in your career. Um, like we're living where you want to be in the end." And it's just like she really like made me snap out of it, say like, "Hey, what do I have? Like, what can I analyze my life and see what I truly have?" And it was just taking that second to really understand that I am successful. Um, I didn't feel that way, but I am, and I had to really come to terms with that. Of just because I didn't feel successful doesn't mean I am. Or I'm not.
Yeah,
Or doesn't feel successful doesn't mean I'm not. It was just a matter of perspective. And that really, she really helped me in that.
that's great. I mean, it's amazing the pressure that we put on ourselves. Yeah. Is that kind of what was happening to you? You had like, I need to hit this, but I'm not here, even though I'm here, which is great. Because I'm not here, I'm not good enough, that type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so actually, this goes into my book a little bit
That's
about
great.
what my story. So I'm co-authoring a book with Sir Marco Robinson called the Start Over series. Um, and my story is basically, yeah, like I was following a script that everybody tells you: go to school, get a good job, get a pension, buy a house, have 2.5 kids, the whole nine yards. And none of that felt like success to me. None of that felt like I actually did it. Um, and on top of that, like it came easy, if you know what I mean. Like it was too easy. It didn't feel like I actually achieved it.
Mm.
Um, Now it's like, hey, I might not be making the same amount of money. I might not be like, um, I might not be bringing in the same level of income, but at the same time, I'm happier than I ever have been.
Wow.
And that's what I think success really is it's your measure of happiness.
Yeah. I wish more people had that idea, to be completely
It's
honest.
very fair.
So, I love that though. I mean, you seem like a pretty young guy. It usually takes us till we're having a midlife crisis to kind of think of these things.
I'm 34, so I'm a millennial. I feel like I've hit every single crisis that could have happened in my lifetime. Like, what do we got? We got 9/11, the internet, then the financial crisis, then COVID. Everything's been a crisis in my life as far as I've been concerned.
I think a lot of millennials feel that way. My daughter's, your age. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
I think she would be, when she hears this, she's going to be saying, this guy hit it. This is exactly how I feel. So,
Yeah. But I
yeah,
think
you
it
guys haven't
really,
had an easy ride.
no, and I think it's really, I honestly think we're going to start seeing a lot of millennials start to stand up and start to change things because I think we're finally fed up. And we're getting to the age where we can actually take power and make change and do these types of things. I think we're about to see a wave of good coming.
Wow. Okay. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
I think that millennials have always been capable of that. As a group, and I certainly don't mean anything disparaging. My
Mm.
daughter's, in that group, so I think very
Yeah.
highly of millennials. But you guys have always had kind of like different ideas, but always kind of wanted to keep them to yourself. It seems like. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's starting to change. I think we're starting to see a lot of people get fed up with how things work and how they don't work. Especially in the US, like that whole Trump debacle. I see that. I understand how bad it is and how like outrageous and it shouldn't have happened. But do you know how much more how better the systems are going to be from all of this because you've had a dictator basically go through and ruin every system you have ever developed for your government. Well, now whoever goes in needs to immediately recreate all of those systems, and now we can make them better for us, make them work for us, as opposed to just the crap we've been built up over the years. I really see it as a change coming.
Wow. That's interesting. A millennial revolution would be something to witness.
Yep.
So, yeah, in our country we have. I mean, the Gen Xers, of course, have huge attitudes and opinions, and we've kind of been holding everything together for as long as we can, and we've been looking for the younger generation to kind of step up. And we've seen the Gen Z group get very, very loud
Yeah.
in one way or another. They're very split. They're
Yeah.
half this side, half that side, but man, they're loud no matter where they are. But the millennials have been absent, so I love hearing that from you. I really do because I think that the more people that get active, the better off everybody is, regardless.
Yeah, it's a little bit different in Canada as well because it's heavily everything's government oriented. It's very like fight the government, um, as opposed to fight each other. Um,
Right.
but it really, I really do think we're about to see like not just Canada or the US either. I think we're gonna about to see worldwide change.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that you're right on a lot of levels. So we'll just kind of see what happens. So,
And-
that, like I said, I'm an old dog who just believes that the more people are involved, the better off everything is, because
yeah.
then you truly get a majority at some point, somehow. So,
Yep.
nothing good, nothing good ever happens when it's just a couple of people running everything. So,
I think people are really starting to realize that.
yeah. Yeah. Um, on your now you've had you mentioned that you did some projects for the Ontario Ministry of Transportation. I was curious about that because, I heard your podcast, which is very much not in favor of government as an entity. Is that fair to say?
Yes, very fair.
There you go. But then, yeah, you had this time where you worked for the government. So does one come from the other? Did you like learn enough about the government working for them that now you're kind of like, ugh? Or
Ye-
yeah, how'd that happen?
Yeah. So, yeah, essentially, my mother worked in the Ministry of Finance for the majority of my childhood. So it was the gold standard to get into the ministry, government job, pension, great pay, great benefits, the whole nine yards. And I got that job out of co-op. When I was straight out of school, I just got lucky. They brought me on as a project planner. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then I went to my manager. I'm like, I want to be a programmer. So he thankfully got me onto some programming work, and really kind of helped me build my career. Like I can't thank him enough because he gave me the opportunity to really succeed uh, in what I wanted to do. And I became pretty like I was a senior developer by the time I left. And we implemented a lot of changes in that government sector that weren't used. So there's two different methodologies that we've always used is agile, which is like keeping things lean, making updates, pivoting when you need to, like your application's always being updated, as opposed to waterfall, which is here's a list of requirements, go build the system. 2 years from now, we'll come back with the system, and then it's maybe what you want. The government works on waterfall. Um, Most of the government still works on waterfall, just so everybody's aware. Um, but our division was tasked with bringing in this agile methodology into the government, and we did. Brought it in. It was successful. It's now being used as like the go-to standard in our ministry. But yeah, I did learn a lot about how the government works, how it doesn't work, and really infuriated me because my team and everybody who was working on my projects were always trying to do our best, putting in more work, more hours, trying to just build this solution that could be best for citizens, like just to help people out. Um, we were the only ones that really felt that way. Like everybody else just kind of sat there and waited their hours out and tried to make it seem like they were working. Um, I became very disillusioned with how the government works. And in terms of, let me give you some context on how it works. Um, you start there, you're all gung ho, you want to change things. You're at a low position, so you get to work your way up. Fun fact, if you're a programmer, the highest level you can get is a senior developer before you have to start managing people instead of working on code. Um, on top of that, they work on seniority. So the longer you've been there, the likelier you are to go up. Um, Managers are not protected by the union. So if the manager goes against somebody higher up than them, they can be immediately fired.
Uh,
But
wow.
your employees can't. So your managers no longer step up for you because they're worried about their job, their pension, their salary. And then you've got people who are like, well, I don't get paid to work. I get paid to show up. So they sit there and they'll play solitaire or things like that while
Wow.
nothing's working. On top of that, we hire consulting firms um, because so the government only has so many full-time seats available to them, right? And that means they're only allowed to hire so many full-time people. And the idea behind that was we don't want our governments to get big, but the work became too much for the amount of people that they had available. So they brought in consulting firms to do the work. But these consulting firms don't look for the talent. They don't do anything aside from collect the money, and then they pay their workers. So as a consultant, I was working for Hitachi Consulting. I was being paid $27 an hour. That was my salary. Hitachi Consulting for me was being paid $100 an hour, and they did nothing. They didn't even get me the job. My manager got me that job with the consulting company. So not only is the government not working, we're hiring consultants to also overcharge us and they're not doing their job. And I got disillusioned by like how our government just does not does not work. It's not meant to work. It's meant to just be bogged down. And all we do is add more bureaucracy and middlemen, thinking it'll solve the problem when really we just need to cut out all of the middlemen and give the people at the bottom the resources they need to work.
Wow. I mean, that's
Sorry for the
no, not at all. That, I mean, I love it. That's incredibly aware, of somebody who's in the system, at the time. And it's
it's
also, go ahead.
it stemmed from really wanting to make change. Like I did not go into this job thinking I just want to sit there and collect my pay. It was I want to make change. And then it just got beaten out of me.
Yeah. And that's what they're counting on is that at some point you go, hey, I'm making good money. I have a good living. I'm not going to rock the boat. And they count on everybody
Yep.
just protecting themselves and saying, hey, I'll play solitaire all day, but I'm going to be here, right?
Yep.
From eight to five, I'm going to go clock in. Here I go.
And now I really see that as like universal basic income. Like I'm now equating a government salary to universal basic income because you don't need to work. You just need to show up.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. Um, and from listening to your podcast, you're not in favor of things like universal basic income and worldwide currency and things like this.
I am. I understand the idea behind it. Um, the problem is we have too many people, and I'm not talking bottom people. Like I'm not talking the people who would actually benefit from universal basic income.
Right.
I'm talking the people at the top that would take advantage of it or not implement it in a way that works for people. Um, I'm very cautious on saying that I the concept is great. I really understand it. And honestly I'd love it because I'm not making money right now. It'd be great to have something coming in. Um, but I don't believe anybody in power right now is responsible enough to implement a system that works.
Wow, that's pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and don't let me put words in your mouth either. If I'm not getting it right, feel free to say, "Hey, that's not what I said."
I,
Good.
no,
'Cause-
it's a great concept. I really believe in it, but yeah, I just don't think it's possible with the way things are right.
right. Let me shift over too because there was a quote that I got from you, and I know there's some other things you want to talk about, and we're going to get back to the podcast, and I really want to talk about the book that's coming also, and there's another thing you have coming out which we're gonna talk about in a second. I'm not going to tease that
All
yet,
right.
but there was a quote that I wanted to cover because we're kind of talking about that now, and it was one of the things that you really wanted to see happen was build business better by building better businesses. And I thought it was an awesome quote. And I really wanted to give you a chance to kind of just maybe work on that just for a minute. Let everybody know what your
Yeah.
thoughts are there.
So it kind of stems from a few different aspects. One being that too big to fail is the problem in every industry. I don't care. There should never be a single company that is too big to fail. Um, and if you've got a company that's too big to fail, then that's a failure in itself. Like no, nobody should be reliant on a company. Um, and if the so first off, I want to democratize, like really democratize access to companies. Really get out of the VC markets. I'm also trying to work out a Kickstarter for businesses so that people can like invest. Regular individuals can invest in startups before they happen, like Coca-Cola. Um, but it stems also from my grandfather and how he ran his company. I remember as a kid, he used to own a company in Oshawa called Truck. It was a trucking company, delivered parts to all of the country. And he always treated his employees like family, like made sure they were doing okay, talked to them, made sure they had an open door so that they could come in and really discuss. Um, the family-oriented businesses. And I think we really need to get back to that style of business is like everybody who comes in has a life and understanding that they're there to make money, but you also want them to want to be there. Um, so by making it more family-oriented, by building a better business, you can have more drive, more innovation because people are working towards a common goal. Um, And that's kind of what I've seen a lot of lately is even when I worked for FIS, I went in there just being like, well, I want to make a salary. that's a that's great for me, but not great for the company, right? Because
Right.
I'm just going to collect my salary and not give you the work that is worth it, right? Um, but I think we need to start building businesses around passions, around what people actually want to build. It's funny because I also want it to be I also want it to be sustainable in that regard too. So like I'm coming up with business plans on how to like make sure grocery stores can be sustainable and cost recoverable and not basically pure profit engines as opposed to the method they are now, by putting in sustainable energy, sustainable agriculture, sustainable resources. Um, it's by building better businesses where I also want to focus on like sustainability, helping the planet. Um, it's just an all-encompassing thing. It can just I think we've come to the realization that the majority of companies don't actually help anymore. They're just there to collect their dollars and move on. And I think we need a lot more people passionate about what they're building.
Wow. I have got to break off here and ask just a question because um, I, I love this conversation, first of all, and it's unexpected, because I don't know. I mean, when you go into a conversation, and I'm looking at this young guy, and I'm thinking, all right, here we go, right? And he's into AI, and he's into content, creation. I'm going, and his podcast is called The Weird Canadian. Brother, never in a million years did I think we were going to sit here and have this incredibly deep political conversation where you have like considered all of these things and you are so well versed on all this. I mean, you're a visionary for crying out loud on
Oh
what
no.
you're working on. I'm telling you right now, I've had a lot of political discussions. Okay. And I can't remember one, where the person sitting across from me had thought through things the way you have. I mean,
I spend a
wow.
lot of time thinking through these things. Like everything's connected. As far as I'm concerned, like I can connect computer programming to astrophysics to the subconscious. Like I am so interested in conversation and topics in just knowing that my knowledge base extends to pretty much every field. It's really
Yeah,
weird.
it's interesting.
Um,
Yeah. It's very
So, but
interesting.
it's all just making the connections together. Like I have a video on the Canadian monetary system where I connect like how the government is building or how the government has to rely on our money printing system in order to survive, and everything's connected. It's just a matter of seeing where it's connected and how it's connected, and then just talking through it.
Sure.
I really like those things.
I hear people say all the time, do your own research. And in your podcast, I heard you say that a lot. Do your own research, go find your own stuff. But then you actually gave people like links and places to go look and said, hey,
Yep.
go watch this for yourself and then tell me what you think. So, you're practicing what you preach, in that way, which is really cool.
I, for the longest time, I realized I was stuck in my own perspective and couldn't really get into other people's perspectives.
Yeah,
This shift has really taught me to take a step back, make sure that like whatever I'm putting out there, it is from me, and I don't want anybody to take it verbatim from me. Um, as far as I'm concerned, I'm an idiot. Nobody should listen to me. But if you're gonna take some knowledge from me, at least run with it and do some research yourself because I don't think I know everything. And I want people to tell me where I'm at. I want people to challenge me. Uh, because that's the only way I'm going to have a different worldview is if I get it changed by somebody else.
sure.
So I always offer that avenue.
Very enlightened way of looking at it. Got to be
Yeah.
honest. I loved on your podcast also that you were saying things like, really look at the issue, look at the party stance because that's going to tell you how things are going to get voted on, and stop worrying about the person,
Yeah.
and whether or not they kicked a kitten when they were six, and little things like this. Maybe talk a little more about that. I mean, that really seems to be a big crux of your belief system, in that way.
Yeah, and I really did stem from I think the cancel culture. Canceling people for the sake of things that they've done decades ago always irked me because I'm like, you grow as a human. Like as a kid, I did so many incredible stupid things, but I learned from them. And I think we've gotten to a society where you're not even allowing people to do stupid things because whatever they do is now going to affect their future, regardless of what happened, what age they were, what they didn't know, what they did know, what was relevant at the time, what was irrelevant at the time. Um, that really irked me because take Kevin Spacey, terrible thing he did, right? I'm not going to fault his movies because of what he did. Because you know who else works on those movies? The director, the other actors, the film crews, the videographers. They put their passion into that project and put it out there. And now you're saying, no, 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 it's not good because one person did something bad.
Yeah.
That really irked me. And even with the Me Too movement, people getting accused, and just that accusation ruining their lives, with no follow-up and no repercussion. Like people really need to understand that you need to look at the circumstances, the context in order to understand the situation. And our media, especially in Canada, reinforces the narrative the government wants to give is, hey, like we're fighting for your rights and everything, but meanwhile they're taking so we're not in parliament, which means they can't do funding things. But the Liberal government is still funding and spending on items that nobody voted for, nobody can vote for because they're out of office. And we're all just supposed to like sit there and be like, yeah, this is what we voted for. It's like, well, if you looked at the Conservative Party, they were voting to downsize the government. They were voting to open up free trade to allow for more home building, um, reducing consultants, and like that. They wanted to shrink the government to make it easier for people to build things.
Yeah.
And then now we're seeing like the Liberal government trying to do the same thing, only they're doing it as ministries and more bureaucracy. And it's like, okay, you're following the same plan, but you're doing it your own way. Why couldn't anybody have just saw that the Conservatives had this plan first? Right? If people just start looking at where the information is coming from, getting the entire context, they're going to be more informed. They're going to be able to walk away with more information.
Yeah. Wow. That's how we started. I hope
Yeah.
that Canada kind of learns from what happened to the United States because we started with that. Cancel culture took over. Everybody led it. And the media was, pro-government until the people in government were people they didn't like. And now they're totally against everything the government's trying to do.
Yeah.
So it's like, tell me that you just like, who you like and that's what the actual news is without telling me that, there's no more news.
Oh, and the fight between the new media and old media, that in Canada is it's bad because we're censored. Like new media is censored
Yeah.
heavily. We have actual laws that censor us. But I appreciate the United States for stepping up and having podcast media taking over and actually putting points in place. Like as podcasters in Canada, we have to be weary about that, but at least some countries don't have to.
Yeah. We almost were. We
Yeah,
were really close to complete censorship on
yeah.
everything. Yeah. So yeah. Well, hey, I mean, I love having the conversation. So I got to ask this too. The title of the podcast, The Weird Canadian. What is it that in your mind makes you weird?
Uh, Growing up, I never felt like I was Canadian. Like, so I always loved anime. When I was on the internet, like I spent more time around the world, like in their content, their cultures, their types of things that I never really felt Canadian. Like I don't like hockey. I don't like Tim Hortons. I'm like all the things that people say are like Canadian. I never felt that way, but I do. I know I am Canadian. Like I have mad passion for this country, for what we've done historically. Uh, I love our country. So I've always just been the weird person in our country. So I just took the nomenclature of the weird Canadian.
I
And
see.
honestly, I appreciate it because it does give a lot of people the like, huh, that's a good name to go with.
Nice. All right, interesting. I mean, you have no idea what you're tuning into, with that title.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I always listen to somebody's podcast before I come on, and I was like, okay, the weird Canadian. Let's see what this is about. And then the episode was all about politics, and I was like, wow, that's weird. And I said, hey, Maybe
Well,
that's
and
it.
some episodes are about art and gender-based violence, and some episodes are about entrepreneurship. I'm just all over the place. Whatever interests me is normally what I'm going on.
Nice. Nice. I like it. All right, let me go back to the book just for a second, because you mentioned pretty quickly
Mhm.
that you are co-authoring a series of books.
So I'm co-authoring my portion in a series. So Sir Marco Robinson has a book series called the Start Over series. And essentially it is a collection of people who have their own stories to tell, their own businesses, and they just start showcasing their story about how they changed their lives and how they bettered themselves. So I'm currently in the process of, well, I've already written a rough draft. I'm currently in the process of getting everything uh, properly publicated and pushed over to them to be able to release that. But in the next year, I should have a book release in the Start Over series.
Very, very nice. Okay, that's cool. So that's your story, and it's all about you personally. It's almost autobiographical.
Sorry, you froze up for a second
Oh,
there.
okay. Sorry. Are we back?
Yes.
All
Yeah.
right, good. Yeah, so it's your story. And so
Yes.
it's almost
Basically,
autobiographical.
yeah, it's essentially the story of how I came to be the weird Canadian,
Got it.
essentially.
Okay, excellent. Perfect. Well, we're looking forward to that. You don't know when that's coming out though yet, right?
Not currently, no.
Okay. All right. And
However,
then,
I will be on book tour to promote it as well. Like going on stage, I will be doing the whole 9 yards.
oh wow, that's awesome. Okay, good deal.
Yeah.
So this is a big deal for you.
Yes, it is. Giving
Very
me a lot
cool.
of clout.
Very cool. Well, give me a call when it comes out. Let's get you back on here and you can talk about, where you're going to be and we can promote the book tour.
Sounds good.
All right, I love it. Okay, and then you had something else that you mentioned, and you started telling me about it, and I went, you know what? We'll talk about this when we get on the air, and you can go ahead and tell everybody about this because this is just out of my wheelhouse. So, but you have an app that you're releasing.
Yes.
Tell everybody
So
about
I
that.
am so I built an app mainly to help me because I have a problem with accountability. I'm very good at making a list and making sure like I'm tracking all of the tasks I need to do, but actually doing the tasks has always been a problem to me, like making sure I get it done. So I built an app. It's called Nagster, and the essential premise of the app is it will nag you until you verify your task is done. So using AI, you create a task that could be anything: go for a walk, take your medicine, watch TV, do some work, and it'll give you a time frame. And once you picked out that time frame, if it hits the deadline, it will keep on annoying you, keep on sending you messages until you've shown the app that you have done the work to verify that you've completed it. So I will be
Wow.
releasing that app with a wait list and a beta testing uh, wait list in the next week or so. And I hope everybody enjoys it, and I hope it helps people because I'm really starting to see it helping me.
Nice. Nagster.
Nagster. Yeah.
Nagster. Wow. I love the idea. That's great. I think just about all of us could use something like that. So, yeah.
It came from like all of these task tools that you get all the time. Like I see hundreds of them that just track your apps, but none of them actually make you verify you've done it. It's just like, yes, I've done it. And I'm like, but I can just say, yes, I've done it.
Nice. Now, if you can just come up with a way for someone's wife to be able to enter the task on Nagster so that it nags the
And
husband, like, until he loses his mind, then, I mean, I think you've got a bestseller in your hands right there.
yeah,
So-
nah, might put that in there eventually.
and I'm just kidding because, my wife,
Oh,
that's definitely her job is to smack me in the head until I get everything done I'm supposed to get done that I said I'd get
yeah.
done. But I love the idea. I really do. Nagster. That's fantastic. All right, beautiful. Let me ask you a couple of podcast questions, if that's okay. I mean, we do have an
Yep.
awful lot of podcasters who listen to the Podcaster Nation. So, when it comes to your podcast, you've had exceptional growth on this podcast already. What are you doing to promote it and get the word out? I'm sure everybody wants to know because you've developed quite a following in a short period of time.
Okay. So basically, I'm across every social platform. I've been posting shorts to generate increased engagement across all of our platforms. My main success point came from uh, timing, to be honest with you. The majority of my views and everything came with when I first started a video where I was discussing why I align with two of our political parties, and they were very counter each other. So it was very contradictory, and I released it right before the election. So the majority of my success came down to timing. A
Nice.
very controversial video at the right time. Um, but reaching out to people, having conversations, I let my audience know that they can reach out to me. Like if they have, my audience has direct connection to me. If they want me to investigate something, I'll go investigate it, do something for them. I've always just kept an open door, and I just reach out to people, ask for help. Like the one thing I can, the one piece of information I can give to anybody is ask for help.
Yeah.
It's amazing how far you can go with just asking for help.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Um, okay. And so timing, and you're all over the social media platforms, which is awesome. The I noticed when I went to look at your podcast, you can only listen to the most recent episode because all the
Mhm.
other ones are locked. So have you monetized your platform already?
Is that on?
Spotify.
I did not know.
Oh, really?
So I didn't
Oops.
know that it got
Okay.
locked. But yes, I actually my main provider is Pinecast.
Okay.
But they don't lock anything down. And of course, my YouTube channel has all of my content as well, and none of it's locked.
Got it. Got
Um,
it. Got it.
but
Okay.
now I will go investigate why Spotify only has my top one.
Yeah, I tried to listen, and they had the little padlock sign next to them, and so
Yeah,
just on Spotify it was locked. But I thought maybe you had like a subscription-based formula or something. So I
nope.
apologize.
The the one thing I want to make sure of is my content is always free.
Got it.
I anything extra like I do will be behind a paywall like everybody else because it's extra work. But I don't like to gatekeep a lot. So like even my tools, if anybody asks me what I use, I will hand them to them because I appreciate collaboration and more than my success, if that makes any sense. I would rather somebody else succeed than me. If I can help them, that's what I'm here for.
Wow. Okay. I love the idea behind it. Well, and okay, so YouTube though is wide open. So go check it out on YouTube
Yes.
first. Is what we want to tell everybody. What I will do is when this episode comes out, I always link to the podcast. So I'll
Mhm.
double check, and I almost always use the Spotify link, along with the other
Yeah,
stuff. If Spotify is still locked, I will put the YouTube link on there so everybody can just go get the free content for
perfect.
sure. And then yeah, I hate to be don't shoot the messenger. I hate to be the bearer of bad tidings, but sometimes Spotify does their own thing
Yeah.
with your content, and you have to like look at it and go, "What are you doing? I didn't ask you to do this." So um, yeah, or maybe it got locked somewhere else, and maybe
Mhm.
the powers that be in Canada didn't want your stuff out there for
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. There's already
yeah.
been three main YouTubers that have been taken down from our law so far. So,
Wow. Just wow, that censorship thing is just insane to me. Um, yeah, okay. Love that. All right, so let me ask you. This is my corny question, okay? That I always ask everybody, and it's in terms of doing your podcast, and you can tell that you have a passion for everything that you do, brother, and I love that about you. But in terms of doing your podcast, what is it that you love the most about doing it, and then what is it that you just, I mean, absolutely hate the most about doing your podcast?
the one thing I love is just being able to talk with people like you. Getting it's so I've realized very recently that I take ideas from everybody. So like just this conversation gave me so many ideas that I can run with and build. Every conversation I have gives me more information to run with and to talk about a podcast I just did yesterday. It's because I'm just curious for information. I just love to learn and I just love to know. And nothing more like so my favorite part is just learning who people are, what they're doing, getting to ask the questions that just boil in my mind. And in terms of the worst, the work flows. like trying to like get everything packaged and then ship it to every single platform and then making sure like you've got the SEO driven metrics. And I wish somebody would take that off my plate. It would be really nice if I could just hand that to somebody and say, "Hey, can you do this for me?" I would love to just do the reporting. And thankfully, I do have some editors and marketing consultant to help me out a little bit. But somebody taking over like the actual uh, production, not production, distribution of my stuff would be really great.
Ah. Okay. Yeah, promotion, distribution, editing, these are top five answers for sure. When people
Yeah,
talk about what they hate, you are not alone. So,
it's
all
very
right, I
fair.
love it. I love it. I love it. All right, listen, you have shared so much and you've been awesome. I mean, you're a remarkable guy and it's been great getting to
Thank
know
you.
you and hear about your podcast and everything that you're about. As we kind of pull this together and kind of wrap things up, let me ask you, in the time you've been doing your podcast, you've encountered a few things, censorship and, locked episodes, not notwithstanding. What's your best piece of advice for podcasters? Maybe you already gave it because you gave quite a bit today. But what's your best piece of advice for other podcasters who are not quite where you are yet?
Uh, don't be afraid to to speak your opinions, your truth. Um, I think a lot of what makes me successful is my ability to like go against the narrative. Like I don't even with the knowledge that I could be censored, I would rather me say it than it be kept in. Don't be afraid to be the controversial topic. And then on all honesty, if you are the controversial topic, you will more likely succeed. Everybody, the podcasting, content creation, and anything in general is all based on engagement. And the most engagement comes from the most controversial topics. So don't be afraid to pick to poke the dead horse or to poke a bear or Jeff Bezos for all I care. Um, right? Just don't be afraid to speak what you think is true.
Nice. Nice. I love that. That's great advice. It really is. More of us need to go out and take a few chances, I think. So
Yeah.
that's beautiful. Beautiful advice. All right. Now, if people want to reach you, best way to reach you, website? I don't know. What do you want to put out there for everybody? And of course, it'll be in the show notes.
Yep. So my website is for my main business. It's theweirdcanadian.ca. For any of my content, it's the Weird Canadian at the Weird Canadian. And if you search me on Google, I'm the first result. So my tag name is pretty unique. So I got lucky with that.
Excellent. All right. Another reason to use it. Weird Canadian. All
Okay.
right. Nobody else is
Yep.
using it. That's perfect. All right. I love that. Okay, folks. Host of the Weird Canadian, and just, I mean, visionary and software engineer and AI expert, content creator, soon to be author, and an app producer of coming to a a phone near you, Nagster, which I cannot wait to see. Cody Johnston, thank you, brother, for coming on today and just sharing everything you have, letting everybody get a real good look at you and what you're doing. It's been remarkable.
Thank you very much for having me. You'd
Yeah.
stay weird.
Stay weird. Love it, man. This has been another awesome episode, folks, of the Podcaster Nation. And the reason we had this great episode is because this is the place where that's about podcasters. It's for podcasters and it's done by podcasters. This is the place where the rising tide truly raises all ships. So keep sailing.